Delete that photo. Yes, delete that photo. It'll be the best decision you make as a photographer. I'd like to talk to all the bird and wildlife photographers out there and encourage you to delete that photo. That's right, you heard me correctly, delete that photo. And right about now, you may be saying to yourself, what is this guy talking about? Well, if you stick around, I believe you'll find this video and the advice I'm going to give you may be more helpful than you think. However, before we dive into today's topic, if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. Also be sure to stick around to the end of the video to see even more photos that will hopefully inspire you to get out in the field and take some great images. Okay, back to the topic at hand. I began photographing wildlife years before digital photography. This was a time when I and most other serious photographers shot 35mm slide film. You had one roll, 36 shots per roll, then you had to reload. Some photographers, myself included, ran with two camera bodies, so when camera A ran out, you could, in theory, quickly detach that camera and then slap on camera body B, basically your second body, which today sounds like the Stone Ages. Plus, when I first started shooting, there was no autofocus. It simply did not exist and wouldn't arrive for many years. Can you imagine photographing birds and other wildlife without autofocus? Try it for 1 week and see how many photos are quote-unquote keepers. The reason I bring this up is to help make the point on how I made the decision to keep photos back in the day and how I do so today in the digital era. In the film days, I learned to be as ruthless as possible during the culling process, which literally meant throwing photos into a trash can. Remember, you had to have physical space to store your photos in file pages like this one here. Those pages containing each slide were then placed into a file cabinet. You also had to have some kind of a system that made sense so you could easily locate a specific photo. This was not easy when you had thousands of individual slides. To keep things manageable, you had to call out, yes, throw away, like I said before, photos that did not meet a certain standard. If not, you would just be awash in 35mm slides you would never use or look at again. Early on, I adopted a workflow where I began to be ruthless in my culling of unwanted photos. This segues me to the end of my 35mm slide days when I was introduced to and became friends with Tom Viso. If you're not familiar with Tom Viso, I encourage you to Google him. He was an absolutely fantastic photographer, a great guy, author of several books. I really can't say enough good things about Tom. Unfortunately, he passed away many years ago, but I feel really lucky that I was able to meet him, spend time with him, and become friends with him over the handful of years that we were interacting with each other. Anyway, Tom was a professional wildlife photographer that also specialized in birds. And the first time we met, we started talking about, of all things, file management. However, remember, we were still shooting 35mm slides, so we were talking about our approach and philosophy to what one does with thousands of slides. As it turned out, we had a very similar approach to this task. There was one thing I would adopt from Tom, and that was to be even more ruthless in the culling of my photos. Yes, I was ruthless in the culling process, but Tom took it to another level. He instilled in me the idea, unless you really had a good reason to keep a photo, you needed to throw it away. The exception, might be some slightly out of focus photo of Bigfoot with Elvis. You can keep all of those. Otherwise, take out your hatchet and start chopping away. Keep the good ones, for those are the only photos you'll ever make a print of, sell, or show to the public. If you have a series of images and there's clearly one or two, maybe three, that are the best of the other 15, 20 images or more, the rest are second rate. Why are you going to keep them? It's only the absolute best you're ever going to get. You're going to print, sell, or post to social media. I cannot say it enough. Be ruthless about your culling. Fast forward a few years after I became friends with Tom, we both made the switch to digital within about a week of each other. In fact, we purchased the exact same make and model of camera. A few months after that, we were on the phone and Tom said something to me that to this day has stuck with me. And I repeat this to every student that takes one of my workshops. Now we need to be even more ruthless in our culling. If not, we're gathering virtual junk. That's the part that really stuck with me. The gathering of virtual junk. And Tom was just like, you gotta get rid of it. So anyway, I had to step back and think about what he had just said. And as I let it sink in, I realized that Tom was correct. I had to make sure I was being honest as possible when I looked at my photos and make the decision as to whether or not I should keep a photo or delete it. Now, some of you might be saying, wait a minute, hard drive space today is very inexpensive. Why not keep as many photos as I want? Besides, can you really have too many photos? Maybe not, but I want to be as efficient as possible with my photos. For me, having photos I will never use or look at is simply not efficient, and I dare say doesn't make any sense. As digital photographers, we create thousands of photos every year. Unless you're the world's greatest photographer, you have many files that probably should be deleted. And there are several reasons to delete a photo. However, in the end, it's up to each of us to decide why we don't want to keep a particular photo. Some of the reasons I delete photos are the photo's out of focus, the subject moved when I press the shutter, a wing or body part is clipped, the overall composition is not good, there's a particular problem with the background, you completely blow the exposure. I'm just giving you a few examples, there's probably many more. I figure out why I don't want or need a photo and then I get rid of it. And in my opinion, so should you. Besides, if you know a photo should be deleted today, it should still need to be deleted tomorrow and next week and almost certainly a year from now. So just delete it. Now the exception would be those, again, slightly out of focus photos with Bigfoot and Elvis we talked about earlier. In that case, keep each and every one of them because you might have hit the jackpot at that point. Anyway, back to reality now. If you make it a standard practice to cull your photos in an honest way, I think you'll find your standards will improve, you're gathering less, again, virtual junk, you are by default showing your best photos, and this might help you become a better photographer. And one of the other side effects would be, I guess, you're using less hard drive space because you're not storing all the images, again, that you're never going to do anything with. I have yet to meet a photographer that says, I wish to be an average or below average photographer. Along with every other photographer, I strive to become better at my craft. That's why I read books, magazines, online articles, attend workshops, and view videos on YouTube, all to improve my photography. And one practice that leads to becoming a better photographer is the act of simply letting go. Letting go in this case is deleting photos we do not need to keep. So embrace it, accept it, and make it part of your workflow. In the end, you may find yourself saying, I wish I had started being more ruthless sooner. So again, delete that photo. Thanks for watching, and remember, help protect wildlife and help protect wild places. Cheers. Now let's have a look at some photos that I hope will inspire you to get out and capture some great images of your own. Take care.